I can't really recall when I became aware of AIDS. Not long ago, I came across an old Rolling Stone magazine from the early 80s where they were describing this new and deadly virus. From our collective understanding of the disease now, the article seemed almost ridiculous in its speculation as to what it was all about. You can't really blame Rolling Stone, for they simply had no idea of what they were dealing with, and you sense they were scared. I suppose my thoughts at the time were probably that, yes, this sounded nasty, but someone always manages to come up with a cure for this kind of thing. Polio, measles, mumps, etc. Okay, cancer they've been fighting for years, but that seemed to be something altogether different, and that had been around forever. It is what it is. So that generation was the first to witness the birth of a monster, although I doubt anyone really knew it at the time. And then about 10 years later it claimed the life of Freddie Mercury. For many in that generation it all of a sudden became very real. Freddie was a rock star, and nobody takes them out but themselves. They live on the walls of our homes. And it's strange dealing with something like this because there's no way anyone can achieve any form of justice. It just isn't fair. But underlying all of that, you now realize that this is scary. No amount of wealth, fame, or social standing is going to keep you safe. Rich man, poor man, dead man. So the battle begins, offensive and defensive. The search begins for a cure. How people interact with each other begins to change. People start to learn how to live with the monster. So life moves forward another 20 years. Soviets become Russians again, coffee gets complicated, terrorism becomes the latest world war, schools get dangerous, celebrities become increasingly interesting, or so some people would like you to believe. Al Gore invents the internet, Apple puts music in everyone's pocket, Facebook takes a travel out of the social equation, and cell phones put the world on call 24/7. A lot of change. Not all of it good, but with all the new things to worry about, you get the feeling that all the bad things in the past have more or less been dealt with, or managed, as people like to say when they are finished doing anything more on a given topic. And then the shadow of that monster I'd kind of forgotten about passes by. Thankfully not touching anyone close to me, but making me do a bit of a double take. I'm thinking the monster has been managed, but as it turns out, there are almost as many people living with AIDS as there are in this country I call home. How does that work? I don't know if any one person has the answer to that question, and I'm pretty sure there is no one answer to that question, but it's bad. It's really bad. And although I initially tried to dissuade my guilt regarding my own ignorance, I'm not just going to sit back and feel pity for these people without doing something. I'll be honest, I started with that. But it seems, maybe just for me, that there is a point where you explore pity long enough, and you ask yourself, why isn't someone doing something about that? And then you eventually tell yourself, stop whining and do something about it. So here we are. There seem to be no shortage of monsters out and about these days, and these things are not to be compared or rated on some scale of evil. They will always exist and need to be dealt with. But the monster I am describing has no face, no political or religious ideology. It recognizes no borders. It cannot be bargained with. It just moves into a person's life and destroys it, and the lives of their loved ones, and the lives of those yet to be born. It is the destruction of innocence. It is the destruction of human potential. Possibly the most disturbing part of this story is, all the good work that has been done to help those living with this monster is only available to some. Actually, not quite half the people who need it get it. Millions of people condemned to die. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be fighting for people's survival, or the global apathy that has allowed this to go on as long as it has. So I'm going to ask you to simply act. Look at the work UNICEF is doing. Take a look at the William J. Clinton Foundation or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, or come and visit me at hintofasmile.com. It's time to end this. You know this needs to happen.